is 1989. Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan's on a collision course to WrestleMania 5 where the Mega Powers explode. It's a good thing for Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan that our guest here today wasn't in their way, because they probably would have got beat. If you would, introduce yourself.
Sure, Chris Zinner, 1989, 103-pound Kentucky State champ out of St. Xavier High School.
And Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage knew to stay away from saying it. Hey, listen, we don't want to... Listen, man, you can have it. It's all yours, right?
That's right.
So, thank you for coming today. I'll kind of let you tell where you come from. And we're actually at my house, but Alex Ray hooked us up, and we kind of messaged back and forth, talked on the phone a few times, and you're here. So if you would just kind of tell us your journey today.
Yeah. So my family and I live out in Washington, D.C., but we're on our way to visit my parents back in just outside Louisville, Kentucky in Oldham County. And so thought we'd stop by and see Alex on the way here. But that's how I got here today.
And we're out here on my back porch, kind of in nature, in the hills, as you guys have said before. But, man, thank you for coming. I really greatly appreciate. I thought Alex Ray had the longest trip, but I think you've got him beat just a little bit. D.C. to here, I think, is a little bit longer.
Yep.
But kind of walk us through, how do you find wrestling in St. Xavier High School?
Sure, yeah. So my earliest memory that started my wrestling journey was probably, I don't know how old I was, 7, 8, 9 years old. I remember being up in the bleachers in St. Xavier High School, watching my cousin, Greg Zinner, who was a wrestler. Mm-hmm. He was one of the smaller weight classes, probably 112, 119, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was probably late 70s, maybe close to 1980, somewhere around that area. And I remember being up the bleacher, watching him wrestle, and somebody, him or my uncle, saying, hey, Chris, one day maybe when you get to high school, when you get to St. X, maybe you can be a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I eventually got there. My dad went to St. X. My brother went to St. X. A lot of my cousins did. And I came from Oldham County, so it was a long commute, 30, 35 minutes to get there every day. But freshman year, Mr. Glass, who was the PE teacher at the time, he would take all freshmen through a couple days of wrestling as part of PE class as a recruiting strategy to get people on the wrestling team.
Smart.
And so I did that, and of course I was used to wrestling my older brother, who was 2 years ahead of me at St. X, and he didn't wrestle, but we used to wrestle on our living room floor. Oh, yeah. And so I'm used to wrestling a bigger guy, so all of a sudden I'm wrestling in PE class, people my own size, and I'm just killing them. And I thought, well, gosh darn it, my cousin wrestled here, I'm going to wrestle. So I went out for the team. I had never wrestled before that. So a lot of people would wrestle in middle school these days, but I didn't find wrestling until my freshman year. So that's how I got into it.
Wow. Well, and I don't know for certain, but I would have to imagine that there's not too many nowadays wrestling curriculums in PE. I don't know that for certain.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine too many public schools rolling the mats out and saying, okay,
go for it.
let's learn, half Nelson here. But that's a lot of, I'm not saying older guys, but guys in your era, I should say, 70s, 80s, maybe even some in the early 90s, they had, like you said, a week of wrestling, a week of whatever.
Yeah.
And the coach was always out, taking notes. Hey, you, come here, you.
Yeah.
How much do you weigh, son? You're 135. You're perfect.
Yeah.
Get on the team.
Well, speaking of that, I was a small guy. Right. I ended up 103 my senior year, but freshman year the weight class was 98. Yep. But there was a minimum weight of 83 pounds. You had to weigh 83 pounds in order to be able to wrestle. And unfortunately, I did not weigh 83 pounds. I was only 81. So, but it didn't stop me. But the difference was most people cut weight to make weight for the tournaments and for the matches. For me, I had to drink water to make weight. So I had to drink 2 pounds of water before every match to get through the weigh-ins. But that was just freshman year. Eventually, I gained the weight, and it wasn't an issue. And then, of course, after my sophomore year, that was the year they changed. They combined the 98-pound weight class and the 105-pound weight class into 103. So junior year and senior year, I wrestled 103. So.
And the 103, like the late 80s there, up until I think it was the last year was 2011. So that 103 kind of stood the test of time for, a long time.
Wow, From 87 to 2011?
Yep, in 2012 we started with 106 pound, and we're still at 106.
Interesting.
But it's good though every now and then to shake up the weights.
Yeah.
Maybe not move them, 7-8 pounds one way, but add a pound or two here. Maybe take out a weight and kind of split the difference on some heavier weights. But it's good, and that's a good piece of history too, because the more little tidbits, little factoids we get throughout. I just love, getting them myself, and then other people being able to relate or associate. Oh yeah, I remember this. I remember, whatever, this weight changed, or this starting position changed, or whatever. Now, you wrestled in '89.
So 85. So
let me rephrase that.
89, yeah.
State championship in state champion '89, but you started wrestling in '85. Do you remember starting on the 10-foot circles as opposed to the referee lines? Did you always? Because we've got video from '83, and now I've got the '85 championship, and of course we got your video today as well.
Right.
But they're like 1969. I have the 1969 video, and those guys in '69 they start on the 10-foot circle.
No, I think we always started on the referee lines.
Okay, well we're trying to pin down like certain dates when certain things change,
right?
And what era done what. So
right.
It's good if you remember starting on the 10-foot lines. I guess the video will tell the tale.
Right.
But I didn't know like if you're like 85 or before.
No, I'm pretty sure we always had to put our foot between the two lines to start. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So let's kind of go through your bracket here.
Yeah.
We were looking at it a little bit earlier, but 1988, you placed fourth.
Yep.
Which is, you're on the podium at least. And back then they only placed, I think, maybe out to 4.
Yeah. I think so.
Is there 4 or 6? I know they didn't do 8. It was either place out to 4, place out to 6. But let's, in the of course 1989, you had 103 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You start off. Let me find you. I had you just lost you. Let's see. I'm gonna be a good old person. You start off with Michael Brown from Wayne County, and you win that by 8-1 decision. Now, I know this is a shot in the dark, but do you by chance remember who Wayne County's coach was in '80?
I do not.
Okay, because I know Danny Upchurch has been there forever. I just didn't know if it was him. I'm sure the Wayne County crowd will let me know, but I just didn't know if you remember who was there. You go on to the quarterfinals, and you're wrestling Charles Doring from Dixie Heights, and you win that by a 14-0 decision. So you was, I guess, zoned in on that one.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I wrestled him quite a few times that year. Yeah, he was somebody that I was used to wrestling.
Right.
Yep.
And get to the semis, you're wrestling another Louisville guy. You're wrestling Stacy Kelly from Western.
Yep.
And we know districts and regions have realigned a bunch.
Yeah.
Were they in your district? Were they in your region?
No. But so Stacy Kelly. So that year, so I was a senior as a 103 pounder, right? And that year there were at least 4 seniors who were at 103. And at that weight class, most of the time you get juniors and sophomores and that kind of thing. So when you're a senior, you have the extra, time and under your belt, which gives you a little bit of advantage. But I knew going into the tournament there were at least 4 of us who were seniors. It was Stacy Kelly, Reggie Gresham, and Scotty Bridgewater, who ultimately I wrestled in the finals. And Stacy Kelly and I had a long history of wrestling each other. We wrestled each other all 4 years, from freshman year all the way through senior year, and I believe that I beat him every single time. But I'll tell you, he is a guy that kept getting better and better and better throughout the 4 years. And in fact, my arch rival throughout my entire 4 years was Reggie Gresham from Wagner High School. So if Reggie sees this, and I think we actually connected on LinkedIn or something a few years ago. But he was a tough kid, and we had wrestled twice that year. The first time he beat me, but it was back then they didn't have sudden death overtime. So we had to do 2-2-2. We went into overtime. It was 1-1-1, and we were still tied at the end of 9 minutes. They went through the criteria. All the criteria were still tied. It came down to the judges, the referees voting. Right. And they voted that he was more aggressive, so he won. And I think it was 2 weeks later, I saw him again. And that time I came out on top by just 1 or 2 points.
Vindication, huh?
That's right. But I really thought that that's who I'm going to see in the state finals. But the way the brackets worked out, he was on my side of the bracket, so I thought, well, I'll see him in the semis. And daggone it, Stacy Kelly from Western beat him.
Sure did. Beat him. It looks like he beat him 6-4.
Yeah, it was a close match.
6-4.
But I had a lot more confidence in my ability to beat Stacy Kelly than Reggie because I had wrestled Stacy Kelly so many times. I knew his style and so on and so forth. Well, Reggie was definitely a little bit more of an unknown entity.
Now, was Western and St. Xavier in the same region?
No, maybe region, but definitely
Okay.
not district. I
Okay.
think we only had like 5 or 6 schools in our district. But Moore High School, where Scotty Bridgewater, the guy who I ended up wrestling in the finals, was. And so the Bridgewater brothers, so Scotty's the guy I wrestled, but his younger brother was Tony Bridgewater.
Right.
He actually, I wrestled him. He was another one of these guys that I just wrestled a lot throughout my career. And in junior year, 1988, when I took 4th, I beat Scotty Bridgewater on the back. I'm sorry, Tony Bridgewater, his younger brother, on the backside to get into the consolation finals.
Yep.
And but the problem was that Tony, who was a really good wrestler. I mean, Tony and he beat me probably as many times as I beat him. But Tony grew up. He got too big. And so he went to the next weight class. Yeah. His older brother is Scotty, and he's the one that stayed small. And so Scotty, yes, and I, in fact, the way the story goes is our district, he was in my district, and I think I had wrestled Scotty earlier in the year. I'm not sure if I had or not. I can't recall. But his dad, very dedicated dad, he would videotape all my matches whenever we were at tournaments, even if I wasn't wrestling Scotty or Tony. He would videotape, and they figured me out. I was a high crotch guy. I would shoot it. I'd get an overhook, shoot it on a high crotch, and either finish or a double, or if he sprawled, I'd dump and go around. And he figured this out, and he knew I was kind of this one-trick pony. And they came up with a strategy just to block that high crotch shot. They would just keep his hand in his hip, and every time he'd see that arm, he'd just block. And in the district finals, my senior year, here I am. This is my year, right? I got 4th in 88. Man, I'm going to go for it and win the states in 89. And I get out in my district finals. He had this strategy. He blocked my high crotch, and I got frustrated. I got untethered, if you will, and I just got frustrated, and I actually lost.
Oh my!
I lost the district finals. And I was devastated, right? I was completely devastated. But I had some really great coaches at St. X. So Tim Harbison was our head coach. Larry Traub was the assistant. And then Jimmy Kressig, who went on to be a very long-time successful coach at St. X and take him to multiple team state championships. He was even there in a kind of a part-time assistant coach capacity.
I got you.
So we had great coaching staff. They got together, and they basically said the week between my districts and my regionals, in practice, they said, Chris, you are no longer allowed to shoot your high crotch. You have to come up with a different move. And so if I was shooting high crotch to the left, they said, we want you to do an outside single to the right. And they said, if we see you shooting a high crotch, every time you shoot a high crotch in practice, it's like 20 push-ups. And so I shot, I don't know, hundreds, if not 1,000 outside singles that week, and went out to the regional tournament and got to the finals. And who's there? Scotty Bridgewater. So the person who beat me in district finals, we end up in regional finals together. And we get out there, they blow the whistle, and I instantly shoot that outside single. He didn't see it coming. I took him down. And I don't remember what the score was, but I think I beat him pretty handily in that match. In fact, I got voted, for my only time in my entire history in high school wrestling, I got voted most outstanding wrestler of the tournament.
Wow.
Because it was like the comeback story, right? I lost in district finals, came back and
Rocky
regional.
3, right?
That's right, exactly. Just like when Mickey said, you got to learn to box right-handed, and then we'll, in the 15th round, we'll tell you to switch to left-handed. It was kind of the same thing. So I learned this new move, got to take it down. I beat him pretty handily, got the regional finals, and then we went to the state tournament. And like I said, I was expecting Reggie to be my guy. He was on my side. Stacy beat him. I beat Stacy Kelly, and we get to the finals, and who's my opponent? Scotty Bridgewater again. So I wrestled Scotty. District finals, regional finals, and state finals.
Now it's got Scotty with a 32-5 decision record. I'm sorry, with you being at least one of those.
Yep.
And it's got you as a 31-3 record.
Right. So
going in,
Reggie and Scotty. Gosh darn it, I don't remember who what the third loss was to.
Yep. And unfortunately, it doesn't say, but it's got you 31-3. We're going to take, and you can tell these are done on site because they're hand wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, right off the KHSAA website. So we're going to have to they were there. I wasn't. So we have to go with them. So you get to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
You win your semifinals knowing who's there. Okay,
Yep.
I've wrestled this guy back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
Does your coaches say, okay, we're still doing the
outside single?
The outside single. Are we going to change it up? I mean, remember what they told you?
You know, I don't recall, but I knew that I had both in my arsenal at that point in time. And I do think because the outside single works so well in regionals, I was probably, if I recall, I think I was going in thinking I'm going to do that again because if I do the high crotch, he's just going to keep blocking like he did in district.
Yep.
But you'll see in the match what happened.
Yeah, and of course we've got the video. Chris was able to find his video and got it converted, and it's got like 50 matches on it.
It's got highlights of my entire senior year.
Okay.
In fact, it's got both of my matches with Reggie Gresham on there actually.
And we got the finals. Now we're at Atherton. For those of us not familiar with the city of Louisville, of course you lived in Oldham County, correct?
Yep,
then,
I did.
Okay, so how far you think is St. Xavier from Atherton?
St. Xavier and Atherton are actually not too far, probably 10, 15 minutes, but I was pretty far. I was like 30, 35 minutes from St. X and probably, almost that long to Atherton too.
Another St. X wrestler in the 90s, Tendai Cherisika, three-timer. His videos are on 94, 95 when he was at Atherton. He said he went home and took like a nap.
I did too.
So
it was a 2-day tournament.
Yep.
We wrestled the round one and then the quarterfinals on a Friday, I think it was, Friday night. And then Saturday, we wrestled the semis and finals. And between the semi and finals, I drove home and took a nap.
I don't blame you one. And yesterday, you guys have already saw Ian Horns from Woodford County. And when Ian won it, he was in Frankfurt at the Dungeon, 96, 97, 98. And Woodford County or Versailles, I guess, to Frankfurt isn't but just 15 minutes. So he went home after his semifinals match and slept and, showered and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a competitive advantage to be able to go home instead of have to stay in the building all day and, find maybe a little dark cubby or, whatever. So that's a lot of Louisville area guys, and especially like Frankfurt, or if somebody like, I know a lot of the Sheldon Clark guys, whenever they won it in the 90s, early 2000s, they would go back to the hotel room, a big tower there in Frankfurt. They'd go back, which is cool, but it's not the same going to your house.
No.
Going to your own bed.
And I think I showered too. I think you're right. I think so. And that really freshened me up.
I got you.
Between the nap and the shower, I felt like I was really fresh.
Now, up until you found it the other day and got it converted to digital, had you seen your match in a long time?
It had been probably 15, 20 years. Okay. But I checked with my wife, and we've been together 18 years, and she said I had shown it to her.
Okay.
So it was at least in the last 18 years.
All right. Well, that's and I'm glad that we got it. And again, I'll make my public service announcement. If you have years that I don't, at the end of the video, I'll include a list of the years I do have. Please reach out to me. Be more than happy to take your video, convert it to digital, whether it's a VHS tape, a mini tape, a DVD, whatever. That way we can meet with more guys like Chris and be able to tell more stories and get more videos out to you guys so you can see and maybe get your school, on the channel and let other people, see how good your wrestling program was. But we're going to get our computer and TV and everything set up to watch this video. Chris, man, you ready to do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. You guys are seeing what we're seeing. We're at Atherton High School in Louisville. When you do the face-off here, are you amped? Are you nervous? Are you just ready to get it over with?
Yeah, so my warm-up routine was I would go under the bleachers. I'd always go somewhere private under the bleachers, and I would really amp myself up, and I would try to find, anger. I wanted to get angry at my opponent. That was kind of what I did.
I got you.
But I was especially nervous for this one. And Trinity's assistant coach at the time was a priest, and I had pulled him aside and I had asked him to give me a blessing, just like Rocky did in Rocky, right? And he gave me a blessing, and that I remember just getting this sense of comfort and calm over me. But yeah, and then the face-off wasn't. I don't know. It was different than the previous face-offs because this is it. This is the big show.
This is the last two Raw, right?
That's right.
All right, let's do this. All right, now that's an awesome crowd for the state finals. I mean, that's a big crowd.
Yeah, and that's only one half. It was on both sides.
Just one half of the gym.
Yeah. So that's Scotty. He was also amped up. He was really amped up. And of course, he's coming off the previous week where I won.
Right.
And so it's his, he's the underdog here at this point.
Now, do you remember, is this Fern Creek's mat?
The mat?
Yeah.
I have no idea
okay,
whose mat it was. Yeah.
You can kind of see over in the left-hand corner like a logo.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was Fern Creek's or not.
Right.
Uh-oh, there we go.
There I am.
Low stance, my goodness.
Yeah. Yep, I was always pretty low.
All right, so we know about the your high crotch and your outside and all that.
Yep, and you'll see here in a second which one I decided to do. But he was really good on his feet. There he goes. I tried to shoot the outside single, kind of a half shot. Didn't really work. Didn't get very deep. Come back, and you'll see right here. I think it's coming up. I'm taking some half shots there, keeping on the defensive. I got I'm trying to get that overhook on the left-hand side.
Right.
That's what I always did.
All right, we're out. Whistle.
Right here, he shoots, and then as soon as he comes back up, boom, I shoot, and there you go, high crotch to
there
dump.
it is.
Right, to dump. I was trying to get the reverse half to get some back points, but didn't work. So I'd go into my arm chop, tight waist arm chop. And I was always a big, I called it thread the needle. Some people call it ball and chain, where I've come from now. But trying to get the arm down to go under the crotch, but I couldn't do it, as you can see there. It was tough.
Riding, there you go, we're out.
Yeah. So so I don't know we're probably 30 seconds in maybe. So
I would say that's about a good.
And I'll tell you. And then my contact came out. I had contacts at the time. I got the LASIK surgery now. I don't have the contacts, so I had to get the contact back in. But I will tell you that watching this match the other day, I forgot how long I rode Scotty. It was exhausting just think about how long I had to keep this guy down. So it was not the most exciting match and not the most highest scoring match, but there's a lot of toughness here.
I was going to say, man, sometimes wrestling you got to grit it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a rock fight, as the old saying goes.
So right there, I was always a far ankle, tight waist far ankle off the whistle to stop the stand up, stop the sit out. Coach Larry Traub, our assistant, he taught us what he called the cradle ride series, I think it was called. You always start with the outside ankle, then with tight waist. Once you settle them down, you switch to the near ankle. So there you go. You can see I tried to switch to the near ankle. It didn't work.
He's trying for a switch right there.
Yep. And then that will give you, once you get that near ankle, you can go for the crossface. That's what they call it, crossface cradle series. So you'll see me trying to do that. And it's funny because a lot of kids know, they know that you're going to go far ankle, tight waist off the whistle. And, it's hard for them to defeat it. There you go. So I got the crossface.
Yep.
I'm trying for that cradle. He's a tough kid, though. I'm trying to take that crossface away. And we're out. Yep.
All right, that's a W. Could that be Wagner?
Wagner. It might be Wagner's because red was Wagner's colors.
Okay.
That's right.
Huh.
Yeah, it probably is Wagner's, man.
All right. Well, we figured that.
So the other thing you'll notice is I'm left-handed. So I'm always I'm
okay.
setting up on the other side, which I think threw a lot of kids off. Right? They're used to someone on their left side, and I was always on the right side.
Yeah, that can be a big.
So you can see I've got that ankle, and I'm trying to drive him forward.
There you go.
Right? I haven't switched over yet.
Time.
Yep, there you go. So I rode him for a minute and a half there?
I would say that's a fair. Can you defer?
Yep, I defer. So he chooses down. So I got, I got to ride this guy again.
Got to do it for a whole another 2 minutes.
Right. So we'll see if I do.
That actually is probably a good strategy on his part.
Yeah.
Because.
Oh, yeah. He's got to get that one escape.
Just got to get, don't say one, not two.
That's right.
And I'd have to say, I'm saying you're probably good shape, but still in this environment.
Yeah.
Adrenaline out the roof.
Right. So this is where I was like almost.
We're out.
Yeah. Yeah. So by the way, so if it wasn't clear, the way I took him down was, he shot kind of a half shot, and when he stood back up, I had that overhook, and I went ahead and shot the high crotch, but because he sprawled, that was a false start on me.
Caution.
That was me. Yeah. But because he sprawled so well, I didn't get in very deep, but I didn't pause. I immediately dumped.
Okay.
Right?
I
So
got
as
you.
soon as he sprawled, I dumped. And it broke his hip. And then I just could spin around and get around him.
I got you. And one thing on my end as a referee is this is the first year that I've seen wristbands. And they're actually up by the elbows, because I've got 85, I've got 87, and in those 2 years there's no wristbands.
Yeah.
But this is the first year that we've seen
Yeah.
the
So now
colored wristbands.
I'm throwing at the legs.
Throwing the
I'm getting
legs.
tired. Right?
Yeah.
Getting tired. So throwing the legs. I really did love riding legs. It's a great way of saving energy and just keeping guys down. So I got both inside wrist. I'm trying to throw both in to try to now here I'm throwing in the power half here. I got one leg in, but it's not very deep, as you can tell. And throwing that power half.
Yep,
I'm
you're
cranking
trying,
it. I'm
for it. Yep.
Yep.
Up,
There
out
we
of
go.
bounds.
Yeah, so at this point, I know I'm pretty tired. And I'm like, I just got to hold this guy down. Because, at this point, when you're wrestling this caliber wrestler, you kind of assume you're going to give up the one. You assume that he's going to get an escape. And so that would have put me up 2-1, right? And then I would have to take him down again and all that. So, but again, just that outside ankle.
Try for it again, drive and lift, drive
Now,
and lift.
right here, now this is a technique that I forgot I used a lot. I don't know if you can tell what I did is I broke his hip and I just put my elbow on the mat. So I'm splitting his legs. I can't remember what they called this. I can't remember. Now I'm trying to stack here, trying to get that far wrist, trying to stack. But the good thing is this right here is a fantastic way of conserving energy. If you can split his legs and put that elbow on the mat and keep, you're underneath that one thigh, you can just sit there and just reach for that ankle and circle to the head, and he can't go anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's a senior move.
That's right.
Or, as we've come to call them, dad move. That's a dad move.
Yeah. So he got his ankle free that time. So I don't know if you saw that. So I'm like, uh-oh.
Yep, he's able to get
So
both feet on the mat.
but he ran out. I don't know if you noticed. I wasn't pushing him out. In order to try to get away from me, he ran out. Which that was, if he could have pushed back and stayed in, I'm, at that point, as tired as I was. And the other thing is, you notice, he knows I'm going for his ankles, but he's still he's still sitting on his toes. He's not sitting on the
Up
top
there you
of
go,
his feet.
right out of the gate.
So he tries to switch, and I circle. This is the battle. Now he's trying that switch, but I'm covering the body. Hips on top, right? That's one of the key things.
Hips on top. That's right.
Keep my hips on top, and I'm just but he came back up. Look, he's almost there. He almost got it, but I'm keeping the hips on top, and I'm going for that cross face now. Notice how I covered back on that ankle. So that was one of the key things that Coach Traub, whenever we do that cross face out on the side, the key was, you got to keep that ankle. And if you can't grab the near ankle with your wrist or with your hand, then cover it with your ankle. Well, there you go. The end of the two period.
So it's, I've got it 2-0.
2-0.
2-0 you going into the third.
So I'm going down. Now notice, I'm going flat on my ankles. So I don't put my toes up. And we were always taught, keep our weight all the way back. No weight on the hands at all.
Pretend like the mat's hot. If you touch it, it's going to burn you.
Exactly. Now, at this point, I'm sitting here going, I'm up 2-0. I could probably stand up and get an escape. But if I do that, then, he could take me down and, everything else. So I come to my feet pretty easy. But he takes me out of bounds there. But I'm sitting there going, should I be in a rush to escape, or should I let the clock dwindle down a little bit? Right?
And being able to have that thought process in this, that shows you experience.
Right. And so in my mind, you'll see where I'll tell you where I made the decision and said, all right, it's time to actually really try to get the escape. And it was about halfway through this period. But he still, even after I I was not having any problem getting to my feet. But he was doing a pretty good job of returning me to the mat. And then right here, I'm sitting here going, okay, so he's got my arm, he's got my wrist, but he's not turning me, right?
That's what I was getting ready to ask you.
I don't feel any risk of being turned. And
That's
I wasn't staying flat. You can see I kept trying to get hand control and trying to come up to my knees at least, right? But I'm sitting here, I know I'm close to the edge of the mat, so I know that, there you go, right? I know I can just
stay in bounds.
Yeah, I know I should have, but
I'm just saying it loud.
There you go.
Stay in bounds. Let that clock tick.
Yep. Oh, so right now I just complained. I was sweating. He was sweating. It was so wet, like I kept slipping off of him. So they take the towels. They wipe both of us down. Actually, now this referee. Speaking of, I know you're a referee. This is one of my. He was my favorite referee in the entire state of Kentucky. That guy right there. He's wiping the.
You remember what the?
I don't remember his name, but I just remembered when I saw that he was refereeing my match here. I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I know he's a good ref. He's honest and. Not honest, but that's not the right word. Accurate. He's accurate, that's right. Okay. Accurate, and I was just really happy to see that he was rough.
So if you know who that is, reach out to us, put it in the comments, and we'll know who it is.
Yeah. So
One,
there you go. Yep.
2, 3. Oh, nice lift.
Yeah, he's a strong kid. Scotty was strong. He was not a.
And those old mats right there felt like concrete.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wrestled on too. Was the both 3-piece felt like this cement we're standing on here.
Yep. So right now, at this point, the coach, I don't know if you heard, my coach just said, 1 minute. I said, all right, this is the time. I need to now actually really try hard to get them at my 1 point.
Now, looking at this crowd before we go any further, you have a lot of family, a lot of friends here.
Tons of family and friends. In fact, I don't know if you heard, right when we first started the match, they were all yelling, Z, Z, Z.
I got you. Because in 1989, you didn't have the luxury of Facebook or instant messaging or whatever. It was, I guess, phone calls or get to a payphone and say, hey, we're in the finals.
Yeah. So right here, so he actually he gave him a caution for stalling. Right. Which I'm not sure, looking back, I'm like, I don't know, was he really stalling? But whatever, I thought he was going to give me, giving me the caution. But what I was saying is that at that last, stop is when I said, all right, I really got to try to get up. But Scotty kept me down. I don't know if you saw a little bit more energy on my part, but he kept me down. But then he just cut me loose.
You. So it's 3-0.
Yep. Now. And then my shoe is untied.
Now, if it's untied nowadays, it'd be stalling, and they start the injury clock.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. They didn't have that then. So it's interesting that he let me go right then, because that gave me another point. I know he was having trouble turning me.
You would think that if right out of the gate, if you couldn't turn, just let you go and have more clock to work with.
Exactly. And so at this point, I am doing my best to make sure I'm not stalling. You can see I'm moving towards him, right?
Right.
He's backing up, and so there was a couple calls here, like when and I think they felt bad that they gave him that caution on stalling before, and I think they turned that around to me here in a second. But yeah, so I'm still going into him, but then right there on the edge, he's reaching. But he gave me a caution there, which I think was inappropriate. But you're the referee. You can.
All right, so we got.
So it's just a 6,
5, 4. There it is.
Yeah. So 3-0.
All right.
I was pretty happy.
I can imagine. I can imagine, man.
Yep.
That's awesome. So, of course, he raises your hand. You're in the St. X history books forever, and there's
Coach Harbison that I just jumped in his arms. That's Coach Traub next to him. Two of the best coaches you could ever ask for. So, not just as wrestling coaches, but as people who taught me a lot about life.
And that's a lot of guys that said the same thing about their coaches. Wasn't just what we learned on the mat. It was what I learned. Took out of that mat room into adulthood, into manhood, fatherhood, whatever. However life, decides to take you.
Yep.
And that's another thing, too, about this series that, I enjoy getting to do, but other people that remember you wrestling may have wrestled you. And I say this, like, if, guys are multiple-time returning state champions, everybody wants a shot at the champ when they go into the gym. Everybody wants to be able to sit around, pull their kids up, grandkids up, and say, hey, this guy may have won a state championship, but, Granddad beat him at this tournament, or he wasn't able to pin me, or, we went to overtime, it was a ref blew a call, whatever. And it's not just necessarily watching the videos, telling the stories. It's how, what people have done past high school, past wrestling, it's past, what we done in our scholastic career. And, of course, you're here, you've got the 3 kids today, the wife is here. On your way to see your family, and it's cool that with this series, people are starting to embrace what they've done in school. They feel that it's a medium that they can say, "Yep, this was what I was then, but this is what I am now."
Yeah.
It's cool to be able to put on, the St. X green and gold, wear that Letterman jacket, wear that state championship ring to like reunions, do videos like this. But I would have to say, and I would say, the majority of, well, I guess all the guys on the series that are dads, if you ask them, what was the bigger thrill, winning the state championship or being a dad, it's going to be being a dad.
Oh, yeah.
75 million times, not even close.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, so after I graduated from St. X, I went to University of Dayton. I wrestled there for 4 years. And then graduated from there. I had a scholarship with the Army to get me through school, so I had to go into the Army for 4 years. Got stationed in Honolulu, Hawaii. And one of the first things I did was found a local high school. It's an all-boys Catholic high school, kind of like St. X, called Father Damien Memorial High School in Honolulu. And I joined their coaching staff. Their first year, they ever had a wrestling program. And then the second year I was there, I became kind of co-head coach with another guy, Cole Weaver, a great friend of mine to this day. And I coached for 3.5 years there. And then I kept coaching. And now, to this day, my son, who's 12 and a half, Kai, is just finished his 3rd year of wrestling. And he'll be going into 7th grade this year. He got most improved wrestler last year on the team. And I'll tell you what, as much joy as I took being a wrestler, it doesn't come close to the joy I've taken being a coach and touching the lives of lots of young men over the years. But that doesn't come close to the joy of seeing my son wrestle. Regardless of whether he loses or wins, that he goes out there and really works hard and tries hard and gives it his all. And then to see the joy in him when he wins is just priceless.
And just about whether it's on camera or off camera, just about every dad that has kids wrestling, they say the exact same thing. I get more turned up watching my son wrestle than I ever did. I get,
right.
You know better than to do. Come on, but and that's good though that your son's wrestling, and you can, I guess, kind of bond over that. And there's been several guys that like their dad wrestled, was in the state finals on the series. Like I know Josh Ashbrook from Harrison County. His dad was in the '84 finals. Of course, his dad got beaten. Josh was in. He comes. Both of them state runner-up. But I asked him. I said, and there's been other guys as well. But like, did Dad come up with a special like tidbit? He never take you to like a secret corner and say, okay, this is information that was break, but keep behind glass, break in case of emergency. Did he give you any piece of advice? So I got to ask, let's say, your son gets you're in Virginia, correct?
Yep.
Let's say your son gets into Virginia state finals. Mm-hmm. What's going to be the piece of advice you give him before he goes out?
The match is not over until it's over.
Okay.
No matter what's happening, don't lose your confidence. Know that there's always a path to victory. And at the end of the day, when you walk out of that mat, regardless whether your hand is raised or your opponent's, walk off with your chin high and your chest out.
And I think that's a good way to end the video, man. That's a good piece of advice, and I'll be sure to bring that up in other videos, because so far, George King, Union County 2000, he has I guess, the line of the series he was talking about. In 2000, he won most outstanding wrestler, quickest pin, most pins, least amount of time. I mean, he was an animal. I mean, he just mowed everybody. And we was watching his video. First time he'd ever watched it was with us on the series, doing the review. And he was like, maybe not now, but at one time, Dad could do it.
Yeah.
At one time, Dad could do it. Now, forever, your kids are going to be able, kids, grandkids, friends, classmates, teammates from people you met in the Army, Honolulu, wherever you've been, lives you've touched. Now, forever, they're going to have, your wrestling story, your state championship match, what you've done since wrestling. And that's what I love about being able to do this series, meet with, guys like yourself and other state champions, state runners-up, whatever it may be, from years gone by, and just say, all right, let's hear your story.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
And speaking of dads, I'll end with this, that even though my dad wasn't a wrestler, he went to St. X. He was a little guy. And he and my mom were literally at every single match I ever wrestled. Even during, if I had a tournament that started earlier, my dad was at work, he would figure out a way to sneak over and watch that wrestling match. And just knowing that I had the confidence of my mom and dad and other family members and friends in the stands supporting me made all the difference.
I can imagine. Well, again, man, thank you for coming all this way today. I really can't thank you enough.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this series. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. This is a joy. I mean, this is a labor of love. It really is. And again, thanks to that guy named Alex Ray. I don't know. He's sending me a lot of the late '80s and '90s guys. So Alex, thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Even though you did go to Trinity, we won't hold that against you. No, that's what I was telling Alex off camera. Like, hey man, you fired shots at St. Xavier. They're gonna fire back at you. You can't have the Tigers and Shamrocks going at each other here on the channel. But we're gonna wrap this one up. Again, if you have videos that I don't, please send them to me. You guys are looking at a list of what I have. Thanks to Chris and his family for coming today. Be safe on your travels. We'll see you guys on the mats.
Thanks.